So anyway, Shrikant is with us. Shrikant Shetty is Vice President, Motilal Oswal. And Kunal Sarogi is also with us, CEO, Equity Rush. Let's start with Kunal. Kunal, thanks very much for joining us and taking the time. Just the inherent strength in some of the financial services stocks, starting with Edelweiss, Indian Bank, and it's across the board now, whether it's government banks, private banks, like IDVFCF Bank and brokerage houses, and even smaller firms like Satkar, Finleys, and Capri Global. If I have limited bandwidth, Kunal, what are the two or three that you would stick to on the strength of the momentum and maybe a time, price, volume confirmation?
I would definitely buy into Bharat Financial Inclusion. That's a stock which I have been liking for a while now. And I see a fresh breakout on this one about 900. It's now headed towards 1,000 rupees. So I think definitely a stock that one could take a bet on. Another stock that I like is a stock that you mentioned is Edelweiss. I think Edelweiss and Motilal Oswal Financial Services, both of them, very, very robust chart structures. They've broken through major levels. Plus, they've been outperforming the markets throughout. So those are stocks that one could bet on at the current level.
Right. And Kunal, what are your thoughts about some of these smaller stocks like Kushal, TradeLink, Microsec Financial, Vito Switchgear, Kiltech Drugs?
Well, I think, Ashu, in a high tide, everything goes up, and that's what you see happening right now. So I would be rather wary of actually getting into stocks that you're not very familiar with, where trajectory can be very suspect, and where the liquidity can suddenly dry up. So stocks like this, I would rather take a rain check on.
Right. Shrikant is also with us. Shrikant, thanks very much for joining us. The question that we have to deal with is whether valuations are more important at this point, or that massive rush of money that's coming into mutual funds. And some would say, look, with mutual funds with so much money, which they have to deploy based on their investment objective, valuations can take a side seat for the moment, and maybe the markets do have tremendous upside because mutual funds don't have choices except putting money where the investment objective is.
Well, yeah, in a way it is right. When money keeps coming in, obviously mutual funds will invest. But then the category of stocks in which mutual funds invest is not the kind of stocks which you have mentioned right now. I think if you just mention the list of stocks which are moving up 10-15%, or that's not a move because of mutual funds putting in money there. It's something else. So we should not correlate both of them. Yes, in terms of valuations, I think we've been saying for some time that yes, it's been a difficult market. If you look at fund managers, look at money managers, they've been saying that consistently, that it's because the good stocks are either fairly valued or a bit expensive, and so you will have to look at individual stocks, individual performances, and try to identify within the restrictions which you have.
Right. Kunal, I wanted to take some specific stocks. Can we bring up Indian Bank again? I also wanted to take Dewan Housing Finance and Syndicate Bank, just very three different. So Indian Bank looks like went into some kind of a channel, but very close to breaking that channel after, of course, that big rise. In Dewan Housing's case, again, there was a channel, maybe it's starting to break that, and Syndicate, just to see the difference in how the charts have been shaping out. Syndicate, on the other hand, actually has not even crossed 1 year's resistance, which is at around 93. So they're very different stocks. Trying to play a stock which hasn't crossed multiple resistances makes it much more weaker than, let's say, an Indian Bank or some of the stocks that we have looked at. And Syndicate, I'd say we're still stuck in a channel, so maybe it's some distance away. Your thoughts, Kunal, on Indian Bank, Syndicate Bank, and I'd pick Dewan Housing.
See, my order for this would be that I'd be most comfortable buying Dewan Housing Finance. It's got a robust chart structure, although, like you say, it's stuck in a very narrow consolidation. But I expect for it to break out soon enough. And it's got a much better chart than, let's say, Syndicate Bank, which has been a rank underperformer. So I'd wait for a very clear, decisive breakout of Syndicate Bank before I would really put it on the radar. I think out of these three, Dewan Housing would be at the top of the list, Indian Bank, and then Syndicate Bank.
Right. Let's take a look at some more, if we may. We had some rise coming in some of the steel stocks like Maithan Alloys. We also saw Gisco Alloys. Whether there's anything Hilton Metal Forging, but Electro Steels, but that's a very small stock, so we'll skip that. Metallist Forgings. Can you bring up some of these stocks? We'll just take a look at it. Whether there is a gallant metal, I don't know if whether there is any significant move here. That's very difficult to make a call because and one more, Bhagaria Industries, if you can just put up Bhagaria, Bhageria. So Gallant is not a very bad chart, and the Bhagaria Industries are an amazing chart. But let's look at so you can see that. Kunal, are you comfortable with any of these, especially this Bhagaria Industries? I'm not too aware of what it does, but the stock is on a roll.
Well, absolutely. So if you look at the chart structure, the stock has been going up. It's gone up from about 100 rupees to now at 560. So I think, of course, if you're a trader who's slightly more risk-taking, I think you could take a bet here. But stop losses don't really function too well on stocks like this is because the liquidity suddenly dries up and they're locked up in circuit freezers, so it's difficult to get out. But if you're willing to take that risk, I think definitely the stock has got a very good uptrend. Can get to 600 or possibly even beyond that.
Shrikant, would you have a view on IDFC and IDFC Bank? Because on a last 1 year trend, IDFC Bank, I think, is up around 72%. So just in terms of shareholder returns, it's pretty much outperformed everyone, especially looking at the crack we've seen in Yes Bank and in Axis. Your thoughts on IDFC and IDFC Bank?
Say IDFC and IDFC Bank, primarily, obviously, they underperformed big time also earlier. So it's a catch-up of a performance. And I think the move started once. I think we started some move in IDFC Bank with the bank announcing the acquisition of a microfinance firm. So at least there was some activity which the management did, and which started getting the investors a bit excited about the potential growth story of IDFC Bank. Till then, there was really nothing much happening out there. And if you look at the valuation basis, it's a 40 rupees book value for IDFC Bank. So it still trades at less than 2 times or just about 2 times book, which is what I think if you look at most of the private banks would trade at, or even less than it is trading at less than most of what the private banks are trading at. And if you look at history, I think some of the new banks which have come in have managed to create some great wealth for investors over the period of time. And I think that's the story which has a lot of potential. So I think if you start seeing a bit of performance, there is still a lot of room for IDFC Bank to perform.
Shrikant, there's one group of stocks which are kind of baffling me, and I'm not seeing the uptick come either in the revenues or the profits, are logistics stocks. Because I would have imagined if the numbers given by Amazon and by Flipkart and Snapdeal are correct, then and 2,800 cities are being serviced, then many of these firms like Gati, TCI, Blue Dart, VRL should have been seeing doubling and tripling of revenues, maybe even going up 20 times if online commerce is really delivering products everywhere. I don't see that. So how are these people delivering things? Are they doing it themselves, or forget about profits? I don't even see uptick in revenues of most of these companies.
Right. It's been a mixed performance. If you look at performance of pure logistic companies, I think we have not seen that kind of performance come through. I think there was strong growth in companies like Blue Dart. We've seen strong growth come in terms of top line. But yes, some of these names which you mentioned, I think, or some of the smaller names, we haven't seen the kind of growth which we're tracking.
Right. Kunal, I just want to take a couple of stocks on a weekly basis that have done well and just take your view on it. One, of course, is Ravi Kumar Distilleries. 2, TVS Sri Chakra. And the third one, if we can, Vivimed Labs. If you've had a chance to look at either of these 3.
The TVS Sri Chakra, definitely, I think, very, very strong up move. We've seen the stock going from 2,400 to almost 4,000. And it's gone up one way. So it's difficult to catch the move if you miss it in the early part when it broke out. But I think definitely on a decline, one could look to buy into the stock. I think a price where I'd be looking to buy this would be around 3,600. So if it were to come to those levels, then a correction can be bought into. So definitely, I think there's more room for the stock to go up. 4,400 is gettable here.
Right. And Shrikant, I'm looking at the European situation, and I was hoping that the IT companies had something to say, because they claim a lot of their work comes from BFSI. But whether there are Spanish banks, Italian banks, German banks, British banks, everybody is down 70, 80%, maybe 60, 70% in their market capitalization. I mean, I can't imagine that all these big IT companies have nothing to get hurt from if the banks are in such dire straits. Have you heard anything from them, Shrikant? They don't seem to have anything to say on this news.
On a specific news, I don't think we've heard, but broadly, I think people have been talking about the BFSI space being a bit difficult. I mean, in that sense, that is where the growth at least has been definitely an issue. So that's what we've heard. But yes, on a specific thing, I don't think companies have come out and announced anything in particular. But I think if you see consolidation happening there, let's say in the European banks, I think that it will have a net negative impact and net negative impact on companies which are servicing these banks. Somewhere, I think there is a potential for a negative impact on that. Yes, that could be a possibility.
Right. Let's take 2 or 3 stocks then. Let's take a look at TCS. We'll also take a look at ICICI Bank. I just want to see how, just charts on the other side. Can we bring up ICICI Bank? So TCS, as you can see, has made a accumulation distribution pattern, and here's ICICI for you. Actually, it may test supports of 230 if it doesn't hold up. I mean, I'm just reading the charts. I'm not getting to anything else as to. And Bharat Heavy Electricals, if we can just bring that stock up. That's been having a problem for a long time. So we'll see exactly what happens to that. Kunal, just purely from a trader's perspective, is there any particular reason to hold on to technology stocks, because they've just become complete underperformance and many of them are testing supports? But for that matter, even ICICI Bank looks like it's trying to test a support towards 230. I mean, if I've seen the chart correctly, but your thoughts? And BHEL?
See, I'd agree with you on all three. I think TCS has got a very weak structure. It got a gap down, then it recovered. It's got a bearish flag forming on its daily chart. So I think the stock can very easily get to 2300, possibly to 2250 levels. And the entire IT space, as you just said, has been underperforming. So there's no point really holding on to IT. I think there can be more downside there. ICICI too, a weak-looking chart. And I think although there's some bit of recovery today, but the overall structure remains weak. And I expect for that to go down too. BHEL has been an underperformer throughout. We've seen a big rally in the market. BHEL hardly participated. And I think that is reason enough to exit BHEL and look elsewhere.
Right. But Kunal, what if you are sitting in your portfolio with TCS or Infosys or HCL Technologies? What should you do? Because it's not giving you even a day trading upside, or for that matter, can you go short on them?
Well, I think definitely if you are to hedge your portfolio, I think one very good way to hedge it would be to sell IT, which is underperforming, and buy something like financials and NBFCs, the sector that we spoke about. Because that, I think, is the perfect natural hedge at the moment. That's the trade we have. So I think IT definitely has been underperforming. There's no real merit in the charts. So I think one should stick to what's going on.
Right. Also, we've had a significant move in some of the pharmaceutical stocks, but really second tier. So we've seen Vivimed, I think Venus Remedies, Marksans Pharma, Alembic, a lot of the middle cap kind of stocks. Shrikant, do you have a view on what's happening on the pharmaceutical side? Because there are 2 ways to look at it. That many of them had such a sharp appreciation that in this rally they're really adjusting themselves. But the second view could be that maybe these stocks are ripe for an upside, that maybe too much has been read into, FDA inspection letters or what have you. I mean, that's part of business, right? I mean, why make such a big deal about it?
Right. I think, with this pharma has always been an individual, very, very stock-specific kind of story. So if you look at companies like Reddy's, probably they still have the issues pending, which may take some time. You have, there is Sun, there is Lupin, where probably in the near term we could see, at least there is expectation that there could be potential development coming through from Sun, where, let's say, inspection starts. So then there could be upsides there if there is clearance receiving from the US FDA. But yes, if there is a plant-related issue, it does take about a year and a half, or even sometimes even more. Like in case of Ipca, we've seen for the last 2 years, nothing much has happened. So clearly, that is an impact, and which investors do look at. So we can't ignore that fact that though it's a business-related issue, it does tend to affect growth for, let's say, next 1-2 years. So that is clearly something which will be considered by investors before investing into it.
Right, I just want to show you 4 or 5 stocks. See, in car sales, when the car sales go up, Maruti Suzuki stock goes up. If two-wheeler sales are going up, Hero Honda goes up because you can directly verify the sales. I'll tell you where I'm having a little problem with these online companies saying they're selling 1.5 billion products. I want to show you a couple of stocks. Can we bring up Gati, a 1-year chart? Now, what I completely fail to understand, who's delivering these products? If these stocks are looking like this, can you give me all cargo logistics? Maybe we look at Blue Dart, maybe look at VRL. Now, somebody must be delivering, right? But it seems unlikely that a stock market totally disregards logistics stocks, but somehow claims that billions of dollars are being stolen over a week. So how are they being delivered? I mean, I don't think people go to a showroom and pick it up from there. I can't add it up. I really cannot add up what's going on. So, you really have to figure out yourself why or what is happening in this particular area, because the logistics companies don't seem to be getting business. Or if they are, it's highly unlikely no institution picks it up, no individual picks it up. How can it be? Anyway. All right, let's bring up Escorts, Maruti Suzuki, and the third stock TVS, just TVS Motors, and take a look at all those 3. Can we just bring this up? Yeah, so Escorts, again, one of the cleanest charts as you can see. Let's bring up this TVS Motors and also Maruti Suzuki. Very clean charts. Beautiful. So that's what I'm saying. When motorcycles are selling, the price of the stock's going up. I mean, that's common sense, right? Why aren't we seeing that in online commerce? So anyway, it's possible that the private sector is delivering it, but that again doesn't sound right. How is it only private people are delivering, not anybody who's listed? Okay. Kunal, you have a thought on these 3? Because beautiful charts when you look at an Escorts or a TVS Motor or Maruti Suzuki.
Well, definitely. So all 3 very, very strong charts. I think TVS Motors has been an outperformer for almost 2 or 3 years now, and it's now at its lifetime high. Escorts, I think it's a very major breakout that the stock had, and it was an underperformer for a very long period of time, and then finally broke above 240, and now it's almost doubled. So I expect for it to continue to go up. So very, very strong structures. Maruti has been an outperformer throughout. Very, very good chart here. So I think there's really no reason to overanalyze. I think all 3 stocks have got very positive structure. One should hold on.
Shrikant, what's your view on tire stocks, and what's your feeling in terms of just pure valuation of some of these tire stocks? Because at the end of the day, we have to look at the fact that you can only put as many tires as there are cars, or maybe as replacements are required. But some of these stocks are almost doubled, tripled, what have you. Shrikant?
Look at we don't have an active coverage on tires, but if you look at the auto ancillary space or even the tire space which you're mentioning, the broad they do represent the replacement market. So these are brands which are there, whether it's any of the companies which you talk about on the large ones, they have a reasonable amount of brand building, which is activity which is done. So there is a certain amount of consumer business in it, plus the OEM segment. Of course, there have been beneficiaries of lower rubber prices. That's thankfully that has been continuing, and that's been aiding the margins and profitability of these companies over the last few years, and that's expected to remain benign. So rubber prices remaining benign would continue to be a positive for these companies. And valuation-wise, they're not very expensive, despite the fact that they've run up a lot. They are not expensive on a valuation standpoint. If you look at the large ones or the mid ones, they are not too expensive.
So Shrikant, I hear on the background you're having some kind of party. How come we are not invited? All right. Thanks very much for joining us and walking us. Do we have any time for one more question, Smita? Okay, so Kunal, I just wanted to take one last thought from you on both the Nifty and also the Bank Nifty. Kunal, what's your thought on the Bank Nifty? Because to me, it started to look wobbly after Axis and Yes really started to test supports. But again, of course, that can change very fast. And Reliance, we've not seen Reliance being able to break that 1127, at least on a sustainable basis.
See, on the Bank Nifty, I think Bank Nifty is trading above that very, very critical resistance, which according to me is now a major support on the stock, which is, on the index, which is 19,100. And long as it is above that, I think, of course, a lot hinges on what happens tomorrow. But if the overall chart structure, I think, remains positive, and as long as it's above 19,100, I'd be bullish on Bank Nifty. As for Reliance, I think it's got that very stiff resistance at 25, 11.30, the price at which it made that treasury sale long years ago. And I think it's not been able to cross that. So I think above 11.30 definitely enters into a different orbit. But till the time that happens, I think I'd rather be a seller at 11.20, 11.20.
Right, Kunal, very kind of you to have joined us today on the technicals of the market. It's a beautiful rally at the moment, 87.18. However, we have to look at all rallies in context of the overall chart. And so the overall chart improves if it goes up to 87.40, after which you have a level of 89.37, which is 200 points away. So markets has big gaps on the resistance side, actually moving up. And the Nifty right now at 108 points at 87.19. On that note, thanks for joining us on Market Movers Corporate Eye. Coming up next, and Bajaj Auto Management will be there.